Welcome to Next Level Play Therapy, a weekly podcast dedicated to supporting the next generation of child and adolescent therapists to provide exceptional play therapy services. We'll explore all things play therapy to elevate your work with children and adolescents using the therapeutic powers of play. I'll discuss practical tips and ideas so you can provide a transformative experience for your young clients and make a real difference in their lives. So get ready to take your play therapy skills to the next level and make a lasting impact in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. Welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy. We are back live today. So if you are watching the live stream, then welcome. Post your name in the comments. We'd love to hear where you're from, what population you work with, and are you working with Santray in the play therapy process. So today we're going to be talking about one of the most important things for play therapists to kind of master, and it's a process. I think it's one of those skills that you learn over time. It's kind of a hard one to master, I think, without a lot of good support. And that is that whole idea of recognizing themes and understanding what is the theme that the child is using to communicate what's going on and what it is they're working through. So that is what we are talking about today. Themes are typically the way that I think about themes in play therapy is typically like, what are the deeper social, emotional, or psychological issues that are going on for that child internally? How are they making meaning of the different things that they're experiencing in life? And typically these are the things that are causing them that distress that are bringing them into therapy. And so we're going to talk about that specifically for that Santray making process. So if you're joining live, feel free to post in the comments questions. If you're watching the replay, feel free to post in the comments. Message me. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you're listening to the podcast, feel free to send me an email or connect with me on Instagram at Renewing Hearts Training. And let's get started for today. So, full disclosure, I have been struggling with a really bad case of laryngitis. If you haven't, I am sucking down some of these Hall's candies to try and coat my throat. You could probably hear it in my voice. I'm a little scratchy today. I have been struggling with my voice for, oh my gosh, we're going on 3 weeks, maybe even 4 at this point. I'm getting tired. I sound a little bit like a squeaky mouse. I feel like I sound like a squeaky Minnie Mouse. So it's going to be a little bit shorter today than I normally do, just because I don't know how long my voice is going to hold out, which I think probably for those of you listening to the podcast, it might sound a little funnier. So if you're a play therapist, or maybe you're using Santray therapy with your clients, feel free to post in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, I would love it if you would leave a review. And also, if you are watching on YouTube and you're a play therapist or you're using Santray in your work with clients, feel free to follow me and click on that notification button so you get notified when I go live again. All right, let's get started so we can move along before my voice gives out. Today's topic is in Santray therapy, how to identify themes in a play therapy session. So first, let's talk about what is a play therapy theme. So a play therapy theme is, the way that I think about that is that it's that psychological manifestation of what the child's experiences are and the meaning that they've made of those experiences. And so what they're doing is they're using that play process to figure it out, to explore it, to try to make sense of it, try to gain a sense of mastery, improve their self-concept, feel better about themselves more positively. This is the internal work. And when we're talking about themes in play therapy, we're talking about looking for the clues that are helping us figure out what our clients are working on. And there's in the sand tray, there are ways that we can do that as well. We're looking at their sand tray scene or their sand tray play, and we're looking for the clues, excuse me, to get a better sense of what's going on with our clients. Here's the bottom line, though. We don't really need to know, not really, in order for the client to heal. So the client, theoretically, the client is going to use that play therapy process when we provide that free and protected space to work towards healing and wholeness. They don't need us to figure out their themes in order for them to heal. So especially if you're new and you're just beginning, don't get hung up on that. Don't get overwhelmed by that to the point that it shuts you down and you're not being effective. Let it go. Trust the process. Trust your play therapy model. Get support. Get training. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. In the meantime, you're just going to be fully present. Use your model the best way that you can if you're still learning one. The main thing I'm trying to say here is, with my scratchy voice, is that don't get hung up if you're in the process of learning play therapy themes. Today, I'm going to talk about some tips that are going to help you figure that out. I also don't think identifying themes is a skill that we can master on our own. I know I couldn't. I needed lots of help, especially in the beginning. And to be completely honest, I still sometimes need help with this. And to me, that's the benefit of being part of a play therapy community, to help give you that support and taking some training to help you figure that out. So for today, we're gonna talk about that a little bit. So we kind of talked about what is a play theme in play therapy in general, and now we're going to talk a little bit about how do you identify themes in the sand tray. So with the sand tray making process, we're really looking at the symbols. So the symbols are the sand tray miniatures. We're looking at how the symbols are used and how the child is using that sand tray making process for healing. So we're looking at what symbols are used, aka miniatures, in the sand tray. We're looking at how they're used, where they're placed, what they're close to, what they're not close to, what was put in, what was taken out, what was moved around. That gives you a sense of your client's process, of how they're using it. Like, are they using it? And you can tell they are because they're kind of deep in that process. Some clients do especially the younger ones, will do like a narrating story from beginning to end. That's more of an active sand tray. And in that one, you're looking at the elements of the story as well as what they're doing in the sand tray. And so you may be looking at what symbols are used. Is it buried? Is it kind of half buried? Is it on top of something else? Is it, where is it placed in the sand tray? You're looking at what's said during the sand tray making process, like what is said in the story, what's said. Sometimes they like to explain it to you. Your clients like to explain it to you while they're creating it. So you're looking at what they're saying. You're looking at proximity. What specific miniatures are near each other? Which ones are separated? Which ones are kind of far apart? You're also tracking those themes from session to session to session. So it's not just a one and done in the play therapy process. It's also what it is being, what is being communicated through that play therapy process from each session. You're looking at changes in the sand tray over time, meaning from session to session, looking for any shifts, even the subtle shifts that take place. And the other thing that you're thinking about is the way that you're making sense of these themes is going to be heavily influenced by your play therapy model. So there's some general themes across all play therapy models, and I'm going to cover those next. Also, the way in which you make sense of those is going to be influenced by your play therapy model, because your play therapy model influences how you make sense of what the problem is and what's being communicated through the play or through the sand tray in the training, and how you're making sense of that for the overall kind of getting a sense of what it is your client is doing and how are they using this sand tray making process to make sense of things. So for example, if you're using, there's a difference between sand play and sand tray. So sand play therapy has got its roots in the work of Dora Kolff, using a Jungian psychoanalytic theory. So if you're talking about sand play, you're talking about using more of a Jungian and psychoanalytical model, which means it's going to be non-directive, and you're not going to be doing any interpreting, because that's the model of the sand play. And you're also going to be thinking about the miniatures in terms of their symbolic representation. So sand play therapists do a lot of symbol work, really looking at archetypes and complexes around archetypes, cultural and historical meaning of symbols, and how that fits into that Jungian psychoanalytic model. Versus if you're using sand tray therapy, sand tray therapy is basically everything else. So play therapists tend, not always, some play therapists are trained in sand play and certified in sand play. Some of us, like myself, most of my training came from people who were more sand play oriented. But if you're saying, I still say I use sand tray because that's not my only model. So sand tray therapy, it could be using the sand tray and you're a Gestalt play therapist, or you're using the sand tray and maybe you're doing EMDR. So you're looking at it through an EMDR lens and making meaning of it. Or maybe you're a cognitive behavioral play therapist and you're looking at what's used symbolically in the sand tray through your CBT lens. So CBT and I would say EMDR are more likely to be a lot more directive. Adlerian play therapy and Gestalt play therapy, I would then probably it's sometimes you're leading, sometimes the client is leading, depending on what's going on. But the way that you're making sense of what your client is working through is going to be through those lens, through a Gestalt lens or through an Adlerian lens or an EMDR lens. So how you're making sense of it and how you're identifying what those themes are and making sense of those in terms of what your client is working on and where they are in terms of progress in play therapy is going to be influenced by those theoretical models. Now, if you're using child-centered play therapy, you're just using child-centered play therapy in the sand tray, and it's completely non-directive. And you're not doing any, sorry, I'm crunching on my Halls, my Halls throat lozenger, if you're hearing any crunchy sounds. Then child-centered play therapy, you're going to make sense of the themes based on that child-centered lens. And again, I want to kind of highlight again, your focus is not really during the session itself. Your focus is not really on, oh, what theme is this going on, and trying to analyze what's going on in the session. Your primary focus is really being fully present and attuned, congruent with empathic understanding and creating that sense of safety and following what your play therapy model says to do. Typically, play therapy themes, I figure those out later, like afterwards, to kind of help me figure out where my client is in the change process. I typically do that when I'm writing my progress notes. But also, that's something we talk a lot about in Play Therapy Academy. We will look at what is going on in the sand tray. We'll kind of staff that with other Play Therapy Academy members. So I'll talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy as well as Play Therapy Elevation Circle to give you a sense of what those are. If you're looking for more support, those would be two options that would be really good. I'll also talk to you about my training coming up for sand tray therapy. It's coming up actually next week. So the best way really to learn how to identify themes is to have support and do training, like I said, in Play Therapy Academy. When somebody is staffing a case and they're doing their case presentation, they might show us a photo of a sand tray scene, and we'll use that to kind of analyze what was going on in that sand tray scene using the collective wisdom of the Play Therapy Academy members. That's something also we can do in Elevation Circle as well, because we do monthly consultation meetings in Elevation Circle. So some of the general themes that are pretty common across all play therapy models, I would say, are themes of power, control. That might be that kind of that need to feel empowered, which is a need that we all have. Feeling empowered, or maybe not feeling like they have external control for safety. So maybe they're feeling like they want to gain control and some mastery over what's going on in their life. Keep in mind, some of these are just typical child development things. Kids don't feel empowered most of the time in their life because grown-ups are in charge. because we're in charge of making sure kids are okay. So sometimes grown-ups set limits the kids don't like. Like, I want to stay up and play video games all night long, and parents are going to set a limit like, nope, you can't do that. It's not good for your health. So for a child, some of that is just normal, typical development. When we're looking at it in terms of themes in play therapy, we're kind of seeing how that measures up, or how that, not measures up, but how that relates to what's going on in their life. And we're using our case conceptualization, which is AKA a fancy word for our working hypothesis, or how are we making sense of what is at the root of the problem that's going on. That's our case conceptualization. So we're also kind of lining up what goes on in the playroom with that case conceptualization and our play therapy model to make sense of what's going on. So if you're seeing themes of power and control, you're kind of looking at that and kind of figuring out, well, how does that line up with what's going on in their life as well? Also, themes of helplessness and hopelessness, maybe struggling with an inability to get their needs met, or a belief in a better future. You may see signs of safety and danger. Maybe they're not experiencing a sense of safety in their life. They may have a lot of fear. So maybe kids with anxiety struggle with this a lot. You'll see this in with children who've experienced traumatic experiences. You may see some of these themes. You typically see those themes in there. Or maybe an overwhelming need to find ways to contain feelings that feel bigger than they can manage. And so they're kind of scary to them. The other is conflict. We see this a lot. So it's kind of internal conflict and maybe external conflict. What's going on in their life, but what's also going on internally. And then I always look at things through an attachment and neuroscience lens. So I think we are also kind of looking at, because we're also working with kids and we're looking at their attachment relationships. So we're looking at some themes of maybe what's going on in their attachment relationship. Are there any unmet attachment needs? Do they have a need for attachment security? Sometimes you might see this when there's been a divorce, which is a disruption, an attachment rupture for kids whose parents are separated or divorcing. The goal would be to kind of help the child and the family kind of navigate through that and reestablish that sense of safety and security within those attachment relationships. So you may see that in there. You may see it other ways as well. But those are generally kind of 5 themes that we see across the board in most play therapy models. So that is it for today. And I can hear my voice is really starting to give away. But let me go through and do a little bit of a recap. So essentially, a theme in play therapy refers to the way that play therapists make sense of the play behaviors to better understand what's going on, and also using that to figure out where they are in the play therapy change process. In the sessions, though, it's really important to be attuned, to be present, to create that sense of safety and security while you're following the application of your play therapy model. We can figure out what the play themes are later. You're not necessarily doing that during the session. You might be doing a little bit to kind of help you figure out how are you tracking things. Essentially, though, we don't want to get bogged down, is basically what I'm trying to say. Don't get bogged down trying to figure out themes in the session. You can do that after the session. And you can also, I highly recommend getting support to do it. It's a hard skill to learn on your own. So when we're thinking about how are we identifying these themes, we're looking at a variety of factors. We're looking at the symbols used, how were they used in the sand tray. We are looking at what's said during the sand tray, what's not said during the sand tray. We're looking at shifts over time from session to session and making sense of what's going on that way. And then finally, just some general themes that we tend to see in the sand tray making process, I would say in play therapy in general. We'll see power and control themes, some mastery themes, helplessness, hopelessness, safety, danger, attachment. Those are generally ones that you kind of see across all play therapy models. So that is it for today. It's kind of a short one today. If you're interested in learning more about sand tray and using the sand tray therapy process in play therapy, I do have a 2-day training coming up. It's an in-person only because I'm a really big fan of the best way to learn how to use, how to hold and process sand tray with children and clients is to actually get your hands in the sand and do it with some of your like-minded colleagues. I keep these sand tray trainings really small because we're going to be, we'll do some, I'll do some teaching, but we're also going to be doing some processing, meaning you're going to be making sand trays. We're going to be looking at sand trays. We're going to be learning what to look for, how to hold that, how to make sense of it. And that's all going to be in person. That'll be in St. George, Utah. If you're interested in that, then pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. That's renewingheartsplaytherapytraining.com. And you can check out the trainings. I have another training coming up as well. So if you're interested in some other trainings, you can look to see what I have going on my website. Here's the thing. I am a firm believer that we cannot do this work alone. It is hard to be a play therapist because we are holding things day after day, session after session after session. We are holding those, and that's hard. It's hard no matter where you are in your professional journey. I think we all need support. And so one of the things that I've done for my sand tray training coming up in April, as well as the one coming up in June, working with trauma, for those 2 trainings coming up, when you register, your registration includes 60 days of access for free for new members to get access to support. So in Play Therapy Elevation Circle, we do monthly consultation calls. So if you need support to be able to figure out what's going on in your client's sand tray, or maybe figure out what's going on in their play therapy session, then you can staff that case during the monthly consultation call and get feedback from me. So you get my almost 35 years experience plus all of the collective wisdom in Play Therapy Elevation Circle. We have a monthly book club. We are reading the book called Being a Brainwise Therapist, which is basically using the interpersonal neurobiology theoretical lens that was developed by Daniel Siegel. We're looking at how to take that information and use it in the play therapy sessions when we do our monthly book club. And I'm very excited because coming up soon, I think it's either May or June, we're going to be reading the chapter and discussing the chapter on using sand play therapy with clients, using that interpersonal neurobiology lens. So anyway, in Elevation Circle, we have monthly book club as well. We have group chat features, so you can get support in there. We do mini trainings like last month in March. We did a little mini training in there on how do you identify play themes in general. So if you're interested maybe you're just interested in Elevation Circle, then hop over to my website and get on the wait list. If you take the training in April, the Santre training, or the one in June, you get access for free for 60 days to try it out, but also to get some support. So you can take what you learned at the training and get support applying that in Play Therapy Elevation Circle. So also, if you're interested, maybe you are interested in really honing your play therapy core competency skills. Maybe you're wanting to get consultation to work towards your play therapy, your registered play therapy. My mouth isn't working because my voice is giving out. Registered play therapist credential. Play Therapy Academy is where you would want to do that. Not everybody in Play Therapy Academy is pursuing that RPT credential. Most people are. In Play Therapy Academy, we go a lot deeper. We do a deeper dive. We meet more often. So it's heavily skill-based. So if you're really looking to develop your play therapy skills and you want a lot of support, then Play Therapy Academy would be the one. So if you're interested, pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. Check out my upcoming trainings, check out the other things, and I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Level Play Therapy. I hope you found the discussion valuable and gained new insights and ideas to support your work helping children, adolescents, and families heal. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps to improve and reach more people who can benefit from this information. Remember, play therapy is a powerful tool for healing and growth. Whether you're a new play therapist or experienced, I encourage you to continue your learning journey to unlock the potential of play in your own work and relationships. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and visit my website at Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training to stay updated on upcoming episodes, trainings, and resources. Thank you once again for listening to Next Level Play Therapy. Until next time, keep playing, learning, and growing.